All right, well, thank you everyone again for joining us. Without further ado, we have our last presenter for the Workforce Development webinar, Eman from University of West Florida. Thank you for joining us today.
Great, thank you, Emily, and we're thrilled to be here and to be part of this great CAE community. I just want to start by saying I've, tried to attend or watch the recordings of as many of the CAE, new CAE initiatives as possible, including starting with the overview, and it's just so great to see all the exciting work happening across the community. So, I want to start by just saying thank you to Lynn and the CAE team. You all are amazing. I don't know how you put all this together and make it look so effortless. We appreciate all your vision and leadership, and thank you to the CAE community. I mean, I just love, we're pretty new in the CAE community here at the University of West Florida as well. And seeing the collaboration and all the innovation and the sharing, and that's what certainly this initiative is all about as well. So, I wanted to just start by thanking Lynn, thanking everyone. And I get so excited about doing this stuff. So let's keep going. All right, I think I skipped a few slides there, sorry. So really, one of the things that is I've been listening to the great talks. It's great to hear about the other workforce pilots. One of the things that, we wanted to do and is somewhat different about our approach is really build a national infrastructure for a scalable and sustainable program that includes some great institutions to start, and that will hopefully include many more institutions as we keep growing. And so from the beginning, our theme and focus was really develop best practice models that leverage national frameworks, leverage the great work happening across the CAE community, across the our key federal partners, including the CAE office, NICE, CISA, et cetera, and bring all that together into a common infrastructure so that then we can develop something that will continue to evolve, expand, and innovate to solve the cybersecurity workforce crisis. And so you can see here from our approach that we wanted to build a national cybersecurity workforce program. And what we recognized is, as a first step, is that we have great workforce programs already happening across the CAE community. And so rather than start from scratch or reinvent the wheel, what we wanted to do is bring together institutions and faculty who are already doing great things in the workforce program space, already have successful workforce programs at their institutions, and figure out how to leverage their lessons, their insights, their expertise, and bring it together into a national best practice model. And so you can see that our institution, our coalition team includes here at the University of West Florida, and my co-PIs, Dr. Guillermo Francia and Dr. Tirthankar Ghosh, as well as Dr. Greg Hall and Guy Garrett. We've got Cyber Florida at the University of South Florida, Honorable Mike McConnell and Dr. Ron Sanders and their team, the University of Houston, and Dr. Art Conklin is on the line. I think our team is all here in full force as well. And we also have institutions that are interested or have expertise or have successfully offered workforce programs, including Augusta University, Dakota State University, Eastern New Mexico University, Ruidoso, Florida International, Metropolitan State, San Antonio College, and the University of Texas in San Antonio. And so this collaboration is possible through the networking of the CAE community. And for that, I am grateful because I'm aware of these workforce programs and the success stories because we've had the opportunity to work as a team across the national CAE community. And so shout out to all of these people and their teams. There are many more listed here. Michael, Steve, Wayne, Ashley, Stephen, Randy, Faisal, Kim, and Glenn, thank you for all that you do to really kind of help put this all together. So you can see that we bring a range of CAE designations. We bring teams that have expertise as in the 2-year community college, university programs. We bring 2 regional hubs that was mentioned earlier to the team, cyber operations expertise, research expertise, as well as knowledge unit expertise with all the work that Art has done on that as well. So our main goal really for the program is to build a best practice, nationally scalable and sustainable certificate program. We want to leverage that great expertise and bring it together in a way that we can offer different programs, different workforce pathways, target different sectors, target different backgrounds among the transitioning military and first responders, so that it is what we call a market basket approach, right? It provides the flexibility so that regardless of the health sector being targeted at the institution, regardless of the background that the target audience, the transitioning military and first responders bring in, we can help them identify appropriate cybersecurity careers. We can train and prepare them for those cybersecurity careers, and we can help place them with employers looking for those type of skills and that type of background. And so that is really kind of the main overall objective for this program. We want to do that by, of course, increasing the number of qualified, skilled professionals. Lynn always talks, I think from my very first CAE meeting a few years ago, I remember she said, it's all about workforce. And that stuck with me. And I'm like, we've got to figure out this workforce problem once and for all. Support the transitioning of military and first responders into critical infrastructure sectors. We are starting with an emphasis on defense industrial base, energy, and financial services sectors, and we hope to expand the program to other sectors and other employment areas in the future. And last but certainly not least is provide all of the wealth of resources in terms of the best practice models, the frameworks, the assessment tools, the curricular resources to the CAE community, and make sure that we have appropriate opportunities to not only share that through Clark and the curriculum repository, but also disseminate them through workshops and events. So these are the how we want to achieve that main goal. We have 5 main objectives for the program. Is first, pilot and refine a certificate-based workforce program with stackable, verifiable credentials for our target audience. So we want to build the framework, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a few minutes. Want to build a framework that allows credentialing, competency-focused credentialing, digital badges that can be verified and that can be mapped to national frameworks such as industry recognized certifications, DoD directives, and other approved frameworks. The NICE cybersecurity framework is integral to what we do as well. Second, we want to develop and utilize screening diagnostics to evaluate aptitudes and help identify proper fits, best fits for cybersecurity work roles. We truly believe that cybersecurity is multidisciplinary, and you'll see by some of the workforce program pathways that we are developing and offering that we want to fill all types of cybersecurity jobs: technical, non-technical, intelligence, all of the above. And we also want to leverage existing resources and best practices. There are some great tools that are already being developed or have been developed by partners, including as part of the NICE, that relate to the NICE framework, including by some of the CAE institutions, including CISA. And we want to kind of look at how we can leverage best practice common tools as part of this program. Third, we want to develop workforce pathways, particularly for those 3 target sectors to begin with. And so we have a broad range of industry partners across those 3 sectors that we are bringing to the table from the beginning for discussions on what is the key for employability for them. What do they need for their jobs, and how can we integrate those tools, technology, knowledge, and skills into our workforce programs? Fourth, as I mentioned, align what we're doing with nationally recognized frameworks. NICE, we are all true believers and continue to advocate for that among our industry partners. Industry certs, as we talked about earlier, I think technology certs, technology providers as well. It's very important to try to bring all that together. That's how we're truly going to innovate. And then last, develop learner-centric, competency-focused curricula, including curricula that meets and addresses emerging technologies. And so across our team, we have expertise in AI, quantum computing and cryptography, threat hunting, intelligent systems, robotics, that we are going to leverage and work with our technology partners, including IBM, Microsoft, Cisco, and others to bring those skills and those tools into the curriculum. So this is kind of an overview of the pathway and the phases for our cybersecurity workforce, our National Cybersecurity Workforce Development Program. And without going into the details, the goal is to really kind of help show the process that we'd like to utilize and what we bring to it in terms of leveraging other resources, leveraging partners across the federal space, across the CAE community space, and across the industry space as well. So we want to build a national program in addition to the great regional context that each institution has within their region. We are also going to be recruiting nationally through the program website. We want to target first responders, transitioning military, veterans, and leverage, for example, national, local military law enforcement partnerships. Here, for example, in Pensacola, we have the highest, in fact, number of transitioning military in the state, with not only NSA and CISA in town, but also headquarters for Navy cybersecurity training, Air Force cybersecurity training down the road. And so we want to leverage those partners, and each institution has similar partnerships in New Mexico, in Texas, in Minnesota, in Florida, and other states, and bring all that together through a national program website and national marketing strategies. Next, evaluate and select the applicants. So identify their work roles based on their backgrounds, their aptitudes, their education, what they bring to the table. We want to make sure that our target audience is aware that cybersecurity needs all types of backgrounds, not just the coding or the computer science or programming focused ones. And so whether they have backgrounds in management or intelligence or engineering or technology, there are other opportunities that we want to make sure they are aware of. Next, the main goal really is to train, prepare, and assess the target audience. So training involves various curricular pathways that we've put together for the workforce model, various programs that will cater to specific cybersecurity work roles in the NICE framework. Prepare them in addition to the technical and the cybersecurity training. We also want to offer professional development training. We will do that based leveraging, again, the best practices that are shared among our coalition team and beyond, so that they are ready to enter the cybersecurity workforce as part of that. Competition-based practice through the NICE Challenge, the Florida Cyber Range, other tools that we can leverage, and really focus on competency. So we look forward to working with Norwich and Cal State San Bernardino, who are heading up the competency initiative, so that we make sure that, again, we are aligning what we're doing with those national CAE initiatives, with the NICE framework, competencies, et cetera, to pull it all together. I think that's what's really going to be key for us as a CAE community to evolve. I remember in a recent talk, I think Lynn mentioned we're going to be at 500 schools perhaps by next year. And it's really going to be important for us to converge to the extent that we can. That's what's going to keep us ahead of the game. And so that's kind of designed to bring that together. And then fourth, we want to promote and place applicants. The goal of this is to not only train them, but get them into those jobs. And so we are going to develop a national employers network and welcome the employers from all the coalition team. And one of the things that I think we've heard throughout today, and I want to emphasize, is that we welcome everyone, including the other pilot schools, to work together. We really want this to come together to be a national program for the CAE community that lives on. And so we're happy to connect and collaborate with others who are interested in developing and offering workforce programs. So offer career mentoring, career events. We've all learned how to live in a virtual world. That'll support our kind of national initiatives in terms of hosting career events and resources that can help place them into those jobs. So ultimately, the end of the day, the goal is to get as many of these people successfully into jobs as possible. And then last but not least, scale and sustain the program and demonstrate why we need to do that and how we can do that. We've heard throughout the CAE workshops that have been offered on the national initiative so far the need for metrics. I can't count the number of times that we've heard metrics come up in the discussion. And so it's very important that from the beginning, we focus on how are we going to demonstrate return on investment, and how do we do that using a metrics-based approach, and how do we do that in a dynamic way so that when Lynn gets a call or somebody else gets a call and say, we need to report on this tomorrow, we can try to make that happen as a CAE community. And so it's very important to kind of for us to factor that into the design from the beginning. Okay, I keep skipping slides here. I'm sorry, I've had too much coffee today. All right, everybody knows I don't have a coffee problem. I'm not saying that at all, right? So here, one of the things that we are going to do and have started is form an executive steering committee for the group that includes the three lead institutions, the three ourselves, the University of West Florida, Cyber Florida at the University of South Florida, and the University of Houston. And the planning team is really kind of among myself, Art, Ron, Turthankar, and Sunny have helped kind of drive the plan and the strategy for this. And we want to include on the steering committee key government and industry partners, because it is very important for this to continue to align with all the great work coming from the CAE office, coming from NICE, coming from CISA, and make sure that we leverage, for example, opportunities and resources through the Department of Labor, Department of Veterans Affairs. And so it's going to be very important for us to get their guidance in a strategic way moving forward to make sure that all this is still very relevant as we continue to proceed, as well as key industry partners. So we have 3 target sectors: energy, defense, and financial services, as well as key technology partners, IBM, Microsoft, Cisco. How do we make sure that we stay relevant to what they're doing and try to help them help the CAE community and help the higher ed community? So that'll form kind of the basis of the guidance. We also have a very strong and coalition team, and I'm just so honored to be working with all of these great institutions and colleagues, and shout out to everybody on the team. Hopefully at the end, we can all kind of wave and answer questions if there are any as well. So these are institutions who are already doing workforce development, who've already ran workforce programs at their institutions. And so why start from scratch? Well, our approach involves year 1, running small pilot programs at most of these institutions so that we can learn from those lessons. In the meantime, in parallel, we're going to be developing the best practice models for the workforce program, for the curricula, for the competency. And then by year 2, have everybody integrate and adapt their work to use and leverage those best practice models, so that what we have by the end of year 2 is really a national framework that has multiple arms across reach across the nation. And so you can see that from the institutions that we have, they bring in much great and needed expertise for really that diversity and that innovation that we need to make this successful. These are some of the things that they bring to the table. So one of the main things is for that, since we are using a, as Art calls it, a market basket approach, is to really provide that kind of flexible framework so that it's not a one-size-fits-all workforce program. Whether, for example, some of our institutions are offering 8-month programs for cyber analysts and secure SOC analysts, or whether they're offering intelligence certificates or networking certificates that are 2-month long or 4-month long, whether they're online or in person. We want a way where everybody can come together and be able to identify which work roles they address, how they're going to onboard students, and how we're going to prepare students and assess students and document that in a way that then is relatable to employers. All of this at the end needs to make sense to employers so that they can be willing to consider hiring those graduates. And so we're developing a consistent, common, stacked credentialing workforce model. Dr. Francia on our team is taking the lead on this, looking at what assessment tools could be used. And we welcome everybody's, again, involvement and input, looking at how we can provide career counseling, and looking at how we can onboard dynamically based on their levels. not everyone coming in, since we have flexible workforce programs across 10 institutions, will need to start at the foundational level. But as long as we can assess where they are and be able to digitally verify and document that, we can identify the best level for them to start, and then we can provide the appropriate training and preparation. And then as they off ramp, we can then provide digital badges, and we're looking at open frameworks for the digital badges that align with the industry badging credentialing systems as well, and provide digital badges for each course, and then provide competency certificates for the pathway when they complete it. And again, that the goal is to be as flexible as possible. Whether some institutions want to do this as a co-op or apprenticeship program, whether some want to leverage, we have some institutions, including ourselves and Dakota State, who are partnering with technology partners such as IBM on digital technology badges. That can all be part of the assessment. It doesn't be part of the credentialing process. It doesn't need to be a one size fits all program. The other kind of key part of what we do is building a national employers network. So we recognize that, you know, as educators, our goal is to help make sure that our students and graduates are employable. And so having a structured approach to get feedback for them to make sure that these pathways meet their needs is very important. And so in addition to the Executive Steering Committee, we are developing a workforce development engagement and placement model that will, again, provide a framework that then will be available to the CAE community on how do we identify and evaluate candidates, particularly starting for these three sectors. How do we develop and test them? And you can see that we will have, in addition to the employers network, councils that then provide more specific feedback on the pathways, more specific feedback on emerging jobs. For example, we saw through some of the earlier CAE presentations and at the CAE symposium, the emerging need for OT security, IoT security, and operational technology level security. Those jobs, and I think at the NICE conference as well, they talked about how we need to extend work roles and the NICE framework to cover those types of jobs. And so again, as kind of leaders in the field, the CAE community as a whole, it's our job to figure out where those emerging pathways are going to be and to kind of forge the trail to make that happen. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, is place these individuals with those employers moving forward. So the National Employers Network will do that. This is kind of a snapshot of some of the partners that we already have on board. And so again, by leveraging the great coalition team that we have and all of their local and regional partnerships, this is a partial list of who across the three sectors we are bringing to the table in terms of not only gaining their input, not only identifying their open jobs and job needs, but also getting a commitment from them to consider hiring graduates. And one of kind of the beauties of kind of the collaboration is that at our last planning meeting, we were already talking about, I think one of the institutions said we might have more interest than we can handle, more than the number of students that we can handle. And so by building the national framework and using this common terminology, we can identify which other programs or pathways at other institutions could have openings for those students. We don't want to turn them away, particularly since many of our programs offer online pathways. And so that's kind of the beauty of kind of sharing as a CAE community, is that we can bring it all together. And perhaps, if our students aren't a good fit for one of these companies, we can identify other pathways that may be a good fit for their job roles. And so we're thrilled about that, as well as the government partners, the federal and state government, and the organizations, the military, for example, National Defense Alliance, and other organizations that could help us identify target participants in a broader way and reach beyond our regional efforts as well.
But we have a model that you've already heard Aman talking a lot about being all-inclusive and trying to bring everything together, and this idea of a market basket approach. We're also not trying to be a straitjacket. We're not trying to say you have to have these 15 criteria or these 37 different elements or all that sort of stuff. We're trying to make it simple so that you can connect to the correct things. So our cybersecurity curriculum model is defining and setting up, how do you say what part of NICE, what part of other things, so you can go into CyberSeek, so you can coordinate with all these other aspects that are out there. How do you fit to the KUs? How do you fit to things like that? So that if people are doing this as part of their curriculums, then it helps them elsewhere in their programs. It makes certain that you have the complete program. We also are looking so that the output of this will fit into the different repositories. So it's not just, oh, here's a slide deck and a video, have a good day. But having all the necessary pieces and defining all the pieces so that regardless of what competency that you're headed towards, be it a professional certification, be it a certification that we have, the badging, which is coming up, and we're talking about different badges and ways to mark your progress, that everything you do will count. It will line up. And so part of this model is to help programs that want to join our consortium and put things into it and make it become bigger and bigger nationally, is to understand what sort of pieces they have to connect in and be able to have it so that their curriculum will fit. How does it fit into, for instance, building an AI program? How does it fit into a forensics program? How does it fit into doing network defense? How does it fit into doing something as simple as beginning IT cybersecurity? Any one of these, we're trying to get away from everybody doing a one of and trying to do something in a form that allows all of this to work together so that when you go to the end of your pipeline and someone says, well, are you qualified? We can show that, this program has badges, this program that are recognized. If you look at our partners, they've been helping us pick the right badging systems that they use internally in business. You've positioned yourself that you can take the right certifications. You position yourself so that you have the competencies. As you see the CAE community moving into competencies, having the competencies part of this, it makes people employable. And that's the part that at the end of the day, the curriculum model is supposed to help make certain that the stuff we're presenting and the pipelines people go through produce employable people. So when we look at the types of courses, samples, all the different things, if you looked at the size of our group, it's not a homogenous group. It's a collection of a bunch of different things. So let me start by saying all these items on here are not being offered at all our institutions in our team. That different people bring different parts. And so if someone wants to really get into malware analysis or industrial control systems, which are really, really niche little things, then we'll help ship them to the right institution to do this. We won't suddenly force it. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't offer that this quarter. You have to take this and this and this. We're trying to make this as simple a market basket. Like you go to an Italian restaurant and you say, yeah, today, you know what? I'm not having a salad. I'm having 2 desserts. But yet the 2 desserts do lead towards a happier ending, which is the job. I'm not certain if desserts actually equate to better jobs, but hey, it's the holiday season. Cookies are in vogue. And so, is this list the entire list? No, samples. Again, as we're building things out and the different institutions are building their pieces out, they may come up with this, for instance, the data programming and visualization track, machine learning, and cover 3 more things based on the advancement and the things in that area. That's why working with our partners, as you saw, is so critical, and making this very focused on not being an education program, but being a workforce development program driven by the needs of the people that are hiring. And before I talk about the numbers page, let me ask, is Iman back?
You. So I think, Art was talking about the 2 desserts. I like that. I think the flexibility is really what we're going on because of the, great expertise we have across the CAE community. And, our goal is to build something that's going to live well beyond the lifetime of this grant. And, encourage those who have workforce programs to, start being part of the CAE workforce program, and those who don't have, help them develop workforce programs. Let's, as a community, come together to solve the workforce crisis once and for all. And so you can see that here by leveraging, institutions who have success. We are already starting our workforce pilots as we speak. Many of institutions have started recruiting, putting the curricula together, working with employers to identify employability skills. And so overall, as a goal, our program goal is to have 200 trainees by the end of year 1, 415 additional trainees in year 2 for a 2-year total of 615. And by leveraging then the diminishing costs along the way, and also additional funding that we could engage industry partners in, as we help them fill their jobs to support this program, other organizations, we can actually significantly increase our numbers moving forward. So just across the coalition team, our goal is to have 1,285 trainees cumulative over the 3-year grant period. And we hope that we can increase that significantly by adding additional CAE institutions who are interested in participating in this. And so, we want to really work, on behalf of the CAE community to go out and, identify funding sources, be able to drive metrics, and do it in a way that then lets everybody do their thing, do their best thing, and be that support and infrastructure to make it happen. Okay, thank you. So we wanted to provide highlights of some of the workforce programs that we have, or the workforce pathways that we have across the national program. We really would welcome any questions or additional information, but since we've got several pathways across the institutions, we thought we'd provide the high level. It would get way too detailed if we try to provide the details of each of these workforce programs. You saw a sample of the courses that will be offered or developed in the slide that Art showed earlier. And so as an examples, Augusta University is developing a cybersecurity workforce transition program. They have a strong connection with the Army Cyber Command and Fort Gordon there. And you can see that for each one, we've provided flexibility in terms of the delivery format, whether it's face-to-face, online, hybrid, or some combination, as well as we really want everybody to converge on the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework. And so to be able to identify which work roles are you targeting, use that in our discussion with employers, and use that to drive the competencies, knowledge, and skills that the curricula for that pathway will provide and will assess as well. Dakota State is developing our partners, Wayne, Ashley, and team at Dakota State. And thank you, Michael and Stephen from Augusta, for being on the call as well. So the partners at Dakota State are developing a digital forensics and open source intelligence program that will be online and will target law enforcement and counterintelligence forensics analysts and incident responders. And that is, again, another need where it is a unique niche, and there are opportunities that then across the country, we can identify first responders, transitioning first responders who would be good candidates for that, and help source them to that program pathway since it is online. And so that's kind of, again, a benefit of building the national infrastructure. Stephen Miller at Eastern New Mexico University Ruidoso and his team are already starting to offer this year a computer and network cybersecurity certificate that will be online. In addition to the transitioning military and first responders, they will be serving a large Native American population, and they have great regional and local networks there as well to tap into their military transitioning audience, as well as the Native American population. So thank you, Stephen. Randy Pastana and team at Florida International University are developing a cyber threat intelligence fellowship program and professional education program for vets and first responders that'll be offered both face-to-face and online. And again, it will target diverse cybersecurity work roles. That's really the key here, is cybersecurity needs all types of work roles. And so it'll be a great fit for those looking to transition from law enforcement, intelligence, analysis, etc. Next slide, please. Metropolitan State, Faisal Kaleem, I think you're on the line as well. Everybody's here. Hopefully the team, I know some have to teach, but that's not important, right? We don't do that. They will be offering an intensive cybersecurity program for our nation's heroes, both face-to-face and online, including underrepresented minorities in addition to our target audience, again, for a wide range of skills. And I think Faisal was mentioning on one of our planning calls that they're already getting significant interest. And so that's a great problem to have as a coalition, because then we can help identify other opportunities, other pathways, and get those students prepared and trained as well. Kim Muschalek, thank you, Kim, for being on at San Antonio. College has a cyber workforce development program that they are developing face-to-face and online that will again target military first responders, focus on technical support roles, network operations specialists, system security analysts, and also provide credit earning. One of the things that isn't on this level of slide, but in the details, is that many of these program pathways also offer credits towards degree. So credit earning, where students could take these not only to get a job, but also, or industry certification or digital badge, but also to earn credits towards a college degree or certificate. Cyber Florida at the University of South Florida, Dr. Ron Sanders and Ernie and their team there will be offering the New Skills for a New Fight program, something that again they've had success in offering in the past, to target the cyber defense analyst role. And while each institution is offering the pilot in year one, again, the strategic planning team will be developing the best practice model, getting that out to the coalition so that they can start to adapt to those curricular guidelines, those badging guidelines, and have everybody be consistent by year two. Dr. Glenn Dietrich at University of Texas San Antonio and his team will offer programs for both introductory and experienced personnel. And that's where kind of the key to aptitude assessment comes in, to make sure we identify the right pathway. It'll be offered online and target various nice cyber work roles. And again, that's something where then we could feed students into based on available seats. Here at the University of West Florida, we'll also be offering, starting in year one, with an introductory program and adding an advanced program in year two. A lot of the topics, the courses that you saw in the sample slide earlier, AI, quantum computing, malware analysis, network defense, incident response, is already actually being developed and offered by several schools, ourselves, Dakota State, Metropolitan State, Eastern New Mexico, et cetera. And we'll continue to kind of put those together into the curricular model. All right, next slide. So, one of the key things that I think we welcome feedback and collaboration and participation in is that, the key has been to develop, think from the beginning, how can we develop something much bigger than this grant that can live on? I've just been so fortunate to be part of the CAE community and to just see how a community can really come together and rally around a cause. And we want workforce development to be part of that CAE community. We want it to be core, just like on the academic side, the higher education side. Workforce development goes hand in hand. And let's stop talking about the cybersecurity shortage and crisis. Let's fix that and move on to the next big thing. And so the goal has really been, how do we develop the best practice models? You saw that through the curricular model, the credentialing model, the employers network that we are building the frameworks for. We are also going to started actually working on this, very exciting, build an expandable and dynamic data-based website and dashboard. So the goal for that would be to allow Of course, national level recruitment, where we could target and recruit students nationally beyond the transitioning military and first responders in general, beyond the lifetime of the grant. We can also include institutions. So we can start with the 10 CAE institutions that we have on the team right now and add other institutions as we go. And we can also add employers. So build a portal and database for the employers so that as we work with them, we get access to their open jobs. They can post their jobs. The students who go through our programs will have first dibs at those jobs, and build that in a dynamic and dashboard form for various reasons. I think one of the keys that we're kind of spending a lot of time kind of looking at that and how to do that successfully is that we really want this to be expandable. And so by providing, as an example, login access for institutions, each institution can go in and add or edit their workforce pathways, which work roles they target, which pathways exist, the format, the start dates, et cetera. Employers can go in and add their jobs and which work roles they target. And that's what we'll use behind the scenes to match jobs with pathways. We also want to leverage national resources such as CyberSeek, the career tools, career pathway interactive tool, and various resources that can be used to help broader audiences identify appropriate work roles. We also, as part of this website, want to build a dashboard, for example, so that the CAE program office can log in and see across the entire program what is happening. How many students do we have? How many open jobs? How many pathways? How many are filled? And can see that at an institutional level as well as an overall program level, so that, you know, when Lynn and the team get those calls, we don't have to, you know, try to our best to kind of provide a report on the spur of the moment. You can log in, you can see, you know, what is happening at the high level and provide that dashboard for key kind of metrics that will demonstrate return on investment in a dynamic way. And then also that means that as we go, we can add additional employers, we can add additional CAE institutions, we can add additional pathways, and we can add additional resources. And so that's really the goal starting in year 2, is to just build this into a national CAE workforce program franchise, expand the number of sectors, expand the participants, diverse populations, rural populations, underserved populations. I've already talked with several CAE institutions who are interested and have workforce programs, and share those resources through the national initiative for curricular repository that the CAE has launched, and through Clark, and through various ways that we can kind of engage others as well. All right, next slide, and we're almost done, and we'll take questions. So, you know, this is a snapshot of really what we would like to build overall. You know, so we are starting here, and I hope I didn't miss anyone. I apologize if I did, with the 3 pilot programs that were funded. And so you can see that the goal is really, this is the CAE, expanding CAE community, where each one of us, for example, we heard earlier from the University of Louisville and the University of Purdue Northwest about, you know, their great workforce programs and healthcare and other sectors that they are targeting. Let's bring that all together under the CAE national framework and be able to include and go directly to their programs, but have a simple way to recruit students so that regardless of their, again, background, we can help get them to the right place, the right program, and prepare and hopefully onboard them with the right job. And so we've included, I hope that's okay with my colleagues, the other pilots that are here and their sub-awardees and their partners as well. I think earlier we heard from University of Arkansas and Ivy Tech, and as well as others who have reached out. So, you know, for example, University of North Texas, I know that they're interested in and have a workforce program, Mississippi State University and others. let's find these pockets of workforce programs and let's help the others build them and make this another pathway to the academic side of the CAE community. So that's really the goal for us, is to then, of course, we're going to try to do as much of that off-ramping to government as we can, because we know those roles are critical to fill. But really just kind of continue to have this evolve, and we welcome everybody's involvement, suggestions, collaborations. It's really going to take all of us and the innovation that we have to bring this together and make it successful, just like the CAE community has emerged over the last 20 years. And so with that, I'll kind of pause, be quiet. I know I talk too much, sorry, and take questions, comments, and maybe start with, from the team, from our CAE Coalition team, anything that you want to add or that I missed, feel free to chime in.
If I can jump in real quick, I'm being called away to another phone call, and I wanted to have an opportunity to congratulate all of you on the great work that you're doing. Iman, great presentation. I love the concept.
Okay, so any questions or comments?
I can see this growing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Lynn.
Yeah? Yes. Okay. I can see this growing. I can see it, your vision being fulfilled, Iman. I think.
Lynn, I think I see Lynn speaking, but I can't hear her.
Okay.
Can anyone else hear her?
Yes, we can all hear her.
Yeah, we can hear her.
Everybody else can hear you. So keep talking, Lynn.
So I have to go. So please let Iman know that I really appreciated what you guys have done and the presentation, and to all of you who are partners on any of these projects. Great briefings. I can see that we are going to get called on.
Can you
to
all
share
hear Lynn?
These ideas and
Okay.
concepts.
So I just can't hear
and again, thank you all for all of your great work and everything that you do. I'm sorry I have to go, but the rest of the team is going to stay and take questions. Please continue your discussions, and I'll be back in touch. Art, please let Iman know.
I already texted her, so
Okay.
hopefully
Thank you.
it'll all work. Be safe, Lynn. So while Iman's trying to work out the questions, and she appears to be frozen in her screen now, let me jump right back in and say, what questions does anybody have? If any of our coalition partners want to speak up and say, hey, what about me? You missed me. Feel free, please.
I have some questions. I put there in the chat about, since I saw you had the Federal Reserve Bank in there, and I'm on a think tank for them. I know they have a project going on with the National Skills Coalition, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, to do this competency to job placement matching. Now, it's a broader scope than cybersecurity, but that could be a good place to add what's happening here with cybersecurity. But have you also looked at the Talent Bridge with Cisco? We've got a project going on with Salesforce and Deloitte, which actually goes into cybersecurity now for internships and apprenticeships. Those are more nationwide programs. So we're looking at kind of doing the same thing. So any way we can help, please let me know. I'm just curious, what other, do you have existing systems you're tapping into, or is this really coming from scratch? Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
Yes, that would be great. In fact, that's what we were just talking about on our last coalition team planning meeting, is kind of the various tools, assessment tools that exist, and how we want to try to leverage those. So we'll add that with the list. And we are working with the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. We've actually have a partnership with them here at UWF, but I was not aware of the tool that you mentioned. So we're going to add that to the list, and perhaps we could connect later for additional information.
Yeah, that'd be great. We at my college, I'm just trying to get somebody, I don't even have somebody to review students' resumes. So we're starting at a more basic level, but there is this need much broader. And I'm glad y'all are addressing it. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for that tip.
You guys have done a tremendous job. I mean, the planning sounds like a really significant path towards a very, very important thing. A question, I have a couple of things to raise to your radar is number one. I know you've been talking about the certifications, use of certifications. Those certifications are coming from obviously the industry groups. So we're looking at IC Squared, CompTIA, ISACA, ISSA. Those you may want to, I'm just throwing it out, you may want to get in touch with the chapters, the national, and if you need the help, I can help you, because we've been working with the SAGA for a couple of things, and CompTIA, they have their own group of individuals who meet in the chapter meetings, and they would love to be involved in giving feedback on certain things. So if you want to get feedback from industry, people who are working in industry, who would like to be engaged, I would say reach out to those organizations. And if you want, I can connect you with the national of ISACA and CompTIA. Another thing I want to mention is,
Okay, that would be great.
We all know that we have an issue. We have the cybersec with all the over 500,000 jobs, but the issue is that we're seeing we graduate students, some programs have a better fit when they graduate the students in terms of what the industry needs in their area versus what the industry needs nationally. So there is a difference between this knowledge and skills that are needed, and this gap between what we graduate the students with and what industry needs. But it's not a flat thing across the nation. There are variations, A, between the programs, what we produce, and B, between what industry and government and academia needs. So that gap needs to have some sort of a gap analysis across industries. Maybe I noticed you were using the 16 critical infrastructure sectors from DHS, which, in some areas we probably do better than others. Should we think about maybe incorporating into our strategic plan some sort of analysis on those areas? I'm just throwing this out to think about it.
Right. That's a great suggestion. I think that's an ongoing challenge, and I think figuring out the model or mechanism to make sure that feedback is incorporated, is very important, because that's going to be the key to really this being successful. Is providing a mechanism for them to provide that input, but getting it into the curriculum in a meaningful way. And as you and we've all faced, sometimes the employers say very opposite things, right? And so I think for us, we've been key, I think even before this grant and the program, about kind of leveraging the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework, right, and seeing kind of now the new version of the new update, so that we can really get them thinking along those lines and using those terms. So, if you have job opens, let's figure out which work role it relates to. Let's figure out which competencies and knowledge and skills, because, another goal is to really automate this, or semi-automate this as we go and in the future. So, I think Casey earlier was talking about, how AI is changing the work.
Right.
And so that, AI is not only important to cybersecurity practitioners, it's important to educators, because then we're going to be able to use that to, evolve the work roles in a way that kind of better fits the changing landscape out there. So that's a great point.
Absolutely. Thank you. You guys are doing wonderful job.
Thanks for the feedback.
Hey, ma'am. This is Sunny from If I may add, one of the things that we're doing is actually a badging system that will include all a metadata that contains knowledge and skills that were completed or that were gained based on completing the course. So one thing that we'd like to see in the future, or with this project, is harmonizing all those courses with the badging system that could be portable across and could be put. So each student will have their own, something like a bag of badges that they could take to the employer. And the employer could actually look at those badges, digital badges, and they could actually figure out the knowledge and skills that were gained by those students along the way that that they're working on their pathways. The other thing is on the industry certificates. We will find a way to actually translate those certificates into badges, so they could actually be included into their backpack, the student backpacks. So if a student has earned a CISSP certificate, bits and pieces of the CISSP will be converted to a badge that will be included into their backpack. And then ultimately, when they apply for a job, they could actually present those digital credentials to their employers and essentially telling them, these are my knowledge and skills, this is my complete credentials, and you know, the employer will get a good picture of the candidate. So ultimately, we hope that this thing will become pervasive, because the badge will not only pertain to the courses that were completed by the workforce development program, but will also include badges that were earned based on work experiences, college courses that were completed, you know, aptitude assessment, and so on. So at some point in time, the highest or the ultimate goal is to actually have a pervasive, standard, harmonized set of credentials that could actually be accepted by the industry.
Yes, thank you, Sunny, for highlighting that. And I think that's going to be great, again, to allow that flexibility. And also, I think back to the discussion with Matthew earlier about, you know, putting it in terms that employers recognize, right? Because they still have to meet their requirements in terms of, you know, onboarding and HR guidelines. And so being able to merge those two is going to be crucial for this to becoming, you know, more successful. And I think, you know, the fact that I think the federal government started with kind of now looking at competency focused hiring as an option, not just degree based hiring, is a good start, right? And that could be a model that then we could leverage, again, insights from to kind of expand to other sectors.
I'm curious about that along the way of crosswalks. So we have at our community college a really strong crosswalk for certifications, and we're adding in badges and that kind of thing. But I've typically seen that being difficult at the university level. How are y'all addressing that type of issue?
Yes, I'll let Sunny answer that, because I know he's excited. He's been working on that. I saw your question about the various badging models and the open badge and acclaim. So I think that's the goal as well. Sunny, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think if the universities won't consider this one, we actually have a way. We're going to find a way in such a way that that we could actually look at the courses that they have completed and issue the badge that equivalent to those courses or to those course materials.
Great. Yeah. And I think it would be great. And I think Lynn has, and the team has talked about this as well, is for the 3 workforce pilots to kind of meet and brainstorm soon and kind of look at what commonalities we could look at in terms of, you know, we brought up a lot of the key similar discussions that we're having, you know, with, for example, negotiating with IBM on free and open access to their curricula and tools, not just for us, but for the CAE community when this goes live. And so I think that would be helpful. I know it's just been a crazy year, and, you know, I can't believe it's already December. So perhaps early in the year, we could kind of look at a, you know, call and welcome those interested as well, and kind of providing workforce to have kind of a more tailored brainstorming, more focused brainstorming session, and look for those synergistic opportunities.
I agree. If we could meet at least once a quarter just to see what's working, what's not working, and how can we leverage our resources better, that would be good.
Yes, that would be fantastic, I think. And let's just get this year over with and, you know, turn the page. And Sharon, I saw your note earlier, Sharon Hamilton, on the evidencing competency. And yes, of course, we are very interested in that. A few of us participated in those discussions from the beginning, and several, I think Art and Tirthankar and others are on the working groups for the evidencing competency. So we are going to do our best to kind of closely align with those efforts as well. So we need the quarterly workforce meetings, and then we also need the quarterly all national initiative meetings.